I was planning on buying headquarters, the offices, and stop renting and finally start building assets. That was my goal in 2025, and I got ready for it. So in order to do that, as a company, you have to build some cash reserves, so you have, at least the down payment in cash, and you must have a great balance sheet. You need to be profitable. Why? Because, if you want to borrow the money, you need a nice balance sheet and you need some down payment. I did both these things, and I got ready to buy the headquarters to get rid of, just renting. And also, I like the idea of owning something. It lights me up. But how shall I put this? Well, Mr. Trump changed the landscape. The new world order is emerging. Things are changing, and the levels of uncertainty are extreme, which means now buying an asset is really not smart, for obvious reasons, but as well as, when your operations are uncertain, when your sales drops for 10, 15, 20% in a matter of months, which is what happened since Greenland, it means that the cash reserves that you have will be used operationally. So all of a sudden, I can't really afford to spend the down payment and to get into debt. It does not make sense at the moment, which is fine. Which is fine, but there is a hidden cost when something like that happens, which is having cash, having profits, which is required on a balance sheet, brings a lot of taxes onto a company. So our headquarters are in Slovenia. We have currently 22% taxes for the company, and another 25 for the owner, if I were to take the profit out. But anyway, it's a lot. So let's just I'll give you some random numbers for calculation. So let's assume I have 100,000 in down payment, another 100,000 in operational cash. So together, let's make it 200. And let's say that the profit is exactly 200 as well, which is never the case. But hey, let's assume that all the cash that I have is actually the profit on the balance sheet. So that would enable us to buy, offices in the range of about 500,000, which would be more than, enough for a small company. But because of this twist, I have to pay roughly 50,000 euros in taxes. Now that is for the last year, but I also have to pay an advance for the next year, the same amount, which ends up being 100,000 in taxes paid in 12 months. So it's basically half of the cash, the liquidity, that goes into taxes. So instead of now having some assets, there would be debt as well, but I would have an asset and I would get rid of the rent and so on. I have to pay taxes on that, which means that basically 100k, instead of staying in the company creating value, hell, I could even add another 2 or 3 employees for this cash. So we would be more innovative, we would be more competitive, we could do more. But no, because the change in the landscape that prompted me to change my decision happened at the end of the year, meaning I was basically unable to reverse the decision that was made late in 2024, and I was working the whole 2025 to collect enough cash, to save enough cash for the down payment, and to make sure that the balance sheet is great. You cannot reverse that decision in a month. So basically I got stuck into either go through with this, which is currently with the uncertainty level so high it would be just stupid and dangerous for the company, so of course I'm not gonna do that. But I cannot avoid or optimize paying taxes on it. So basically in a way I've lost the money, 100,000 in this calculation, for example, due to taxes. So what is the lesson here? The lesson is that you always, that is a lesson for me, always have a plan B, have a fallback plan that is just as good as the original plan. I didn't have it. So when I said I'm gonna set things to be able to buy, I would need to have a fallback plan. What if what if the economy change? What if my employees, I don't know, somebody gets sick and I am not fully operational anymore? What if I can't really find a place to buy in due time? How am I gonna solve the problem of paying taxes, which are of course important? We all have to pay taxes. That's really not an issue. The issue is that I'm spending more money than I should in taxes for no reasons and for absolutely zero gain to the company itself. So yeah, it hurts a little bit. Anyway, that's the lesson from this week that I want to share with you. Stay safe and sound. Bye.